Hello everybody and welcome to the round 9 of the Formula 1 2022 World Championship. This is the Canadian Grand Prix. Welcome to Let's Talk Sports coverage. Now before I go further into the actual watch-along stream, I do want to say a huge thank you to everybody that has subscribed to the Let's Talk Sport YouTube channel over the last few years. If you're new to us, then of course please subscribe. It will mean a great deal because today we passed 10,000 subscribers. So thank you very much to everybody who has done so. And like I said, if you are new here, please subscribe. It would mean a lot. But yeah, if like I said, you're new to us or you have watched us before, welcome to our race watch along of the Formula 1 World Championship for this season. And like I said, we are doing the Canadian Grand Prix for the first time since 2019. The race has been held at Montreal. Very much mixed or wet conditions yesterday, and over the practice sessions as well. We saw a wet qualifying. We saw a Max Verstappen masterclass, really, in terms of being the best in all of the Q1, Q2, and Q3. So of course he managed to get pole position yesterday. His title rivals in both his teammate Sergio Perez and Charles Leclerc are starting further back along the grid as well. So this could be a nice, lovely Sunday drive for Max Verstappen, but he does have a surprise alongside him, and that surprise is Fernando Alonso. The first time he has been on the front row since 2012. Conor Porter, thank you for joining us on this race watch along. I mean, Fernando Alonso, I mean, just sum up in terms of your qualifying thoughts on yesterday in terms of a nice mixed conditions, and of course Fernando Alonso starting on the front row of the grid as well.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. It was a crazy afternoon of qualifying yesterday in Canada with all the rain to begin with. And we saw different strategies used by different teams and whatnot. And we saw big incidents take place on the track. Most notably, Perez crashing in Q2 and not qualifying for Q3. He starts from 13th today. And we've also, of course, got the situation with Charles Leclerc taking the grid penalty with new components in his car. So he's at the back of the grid alongside Yuki Tsunoda, who's in the same situation as him with new components in his car. As you mentioned as well, Fernando Alonso starting in second. Lewis Hamilton with his best performance of qualifying of the year so far in 4th position. And then the two Hasses. I told you at the beginning of the season that the Hasses would make it into Q3. And what did they do yesterday? Not one, but two. Kevin Magnussen and Mick Schumacher in 5th and 6th, respectively. And hopefully that leads to some points for Kevin Magnussen and for Mick Schumacher, which would be his first points of his Formula 1 career. So yeah, we'll wait and see. But obviously, I think the big one that we'll be watching out for, Jack, is that lunge from Fernando Alonso going towards Max Verstappen into turn 1. I mean, I think we should make a prediction now if we think Alonso is going to break late into turn 1 and try and take him. What do you think?
I think absolutely. I think it's not many opportunities does Fernando at this time in his career now. Unfortunately, does he get that opportunity on the front row of the grid? And yeah, like I said, he's had opportunities maybe so far this year. He maybe had a chance at pole position around Melbourne, and then unfortunately had that accident on the final lap of qualifying. So the Alpine has shown potential so far this year, and yeah, I mean, he just managed to put it that perfect lap in yesterday, or not too perfect because obviously he's not on pole, but I think for where the Alpines are, I think that's a very good performance. And I think if he gets a great start, he of course will be diving down the inside. He joked yesterday when Max Verstappen said, I've got the old guy next to me. He's like, well, I'll get the move done on him on the first corner tomorrow. So it will be very much interesting to see if that does happen. I hope it is, because I think otherwise Max Verstappen could go off into the distance with everybody else chasing down Fernando Alonso. So yeah, that is going to be something to look out for. I will do the grid. I'm hoping they're going to do the starting grid now, so I might be able to go through it at the same time. time, which they are. So I'll start from the back. So Yuki Tsunoda and Charles Leclerc are two drivers with penalties this weekend. We've got Nicholas Latifi starting 18th, Lance Stroll 17th. Difficult day in qualifying for Aston Martin yesterday when they finished so well in the last practice session. Vettel 16th, Pierre Gasly 15th. We've got Lando Norris, who had issues in qualifying in Q2 yesterday. He starts 14th. As Conor mentioned, Perez had a accident yesterday, so he starts 13th. Albon 12th, Valtteri Bottas 11th, beaten by his teammate Zhou Guanyu. Great qualifying for him yesterday in 10th. Daniel Ricciardo, better day for him in terms of his qualifying. He starts 9th. We've got George Russell 8th, Esteban Ocon is 7th. Mick Schumacher and Kevin Magnussen, as Conor mentioned, both 6th and 5th on the grid. We've got Lewis Hamilton, best start so far in qualifying and a start for the race for him so far this year, and Carlos Sainz in 3rd next to him. And then, of course, like we said, Fernando Alonso in 2nd place with Max Verstappen on pole position. Not mentioned, of course, obviously the Mercedes points. I know you mentioned in terms of Lewis Hamilton, but George trying to go very risky yesterday on the only driver to try out the soft compound tyres. Conor, didn't work for him, but worth that gamble, do you think? Because if it had paid off, he would have easily had pole position.
Yeah, definitely. If you watched qualifying yesterday, you would have seen there was a very big puddle around turns 1 and 2, even closer to the end of Q3. So slicks was definitely going to be a big challenge for any driver that decided to do it. George did, and it was an okay risk to take, really. In the end, as you said, if it paid off, it could have been front row today, but unfortunately not. But now everyone's on slicks, so now we'll get to see how quick these cars actually are around this Canada circuit in Montreal. One thing I want to point out, though, as well is, as you mentioned, Verstappen, if he's able to keep Alonso at bay, there could be a shot for him to really drive off into the distance. Carlos Sainz as well is in that similar situation. He has to get past Alonso very quickly if he wants to challenge Max for this race win and put him under some sort of pressure. So I think, Alonso's got two guys to really battle for against into that first corner, not just Max Verstappen to try and get ahead of him, but also Carlos Sainz in that 3rd grid position spot. Both of them are on the inside because pole position is on the left of this Canadian circuit, which they go around in a clockwise manner. So Alonso's going to have to potentially go round the long way in turn 1, I think, and then try and catch out Max Verstappen. Oh, he's stalled at the grid, actually.
Yeah.
Alonso's stalled on the grid, so that's may have gone out the window already. He's actually got it started and going. So
oh God, Conor, please
he's away now.
Don't give me issues like that.
he's away now, but that's not a good sign. You don't want that to happen on the formation lap.
We'd have to cancel the race. We're not having him not start this race. That's just. But in terms of going back to Carlos Sainz, I mean, is this his best chance? Because he is the front-running Ferrari driver right now, and we know that Leclerc has been the more confident one so far this year. Is this Carlos Sainz's time now? As we see the Aston Martins going slowly as well. Is this Carlos Sainz's time at Ferrari at this moment with him being the front-runner today?
I think if Carlos doesn't beat Max today, I think that's him out of the championship contention. I just think he's out of the 4 drivers that we realistically think could win the championship, the 2 Ferrari drivers and the 2 Red Bulls. It's getting to a crunch point, I think, now for Carlos Sainz, where if he falls too far behind in the standings now, then he's not going to be able to catch up with Max Verstappen and the rest of them. At the moment, he's behind George Russell in 5th, but he's in a much better car than George in that Mercedes. Currently sitting on 83 points after the 8 rounds that we've had at the moment, but Max Verstappen's ahead on 150.
Yeah.
So he needs to get a win on the board, I think, and also try to beat Max Verstappen today in order to keep his championship hopes alive. Because I think, as the season goes on, it looks as clear as though that at some point both Ferraris will take the grid penalties. It's already happened for Charles today, but at the same time, the Ferrari car of Carlos Sainz has not exactly been reliable. We had problems last week in Baku, so it's going to be a long season if Carlos doesn't get a good result today. And starting in 3rd with only Alonso ahead of him before Max is a good chance for him to try and get an opportunity here to bag his first win in Formula One. So fingers crossed for him today, but he's going to have a massive challenge ahead of him in the world champion in Max Verstappen and the very experienced Fernando Alonso, who, if you remember back to Hungary last year, battling against Lewis Hamilton, Alonso can be very good at parking the car on the track. So, and we just see all the cars slowly backing
Very
up.
slow, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm not too certain if the FIA will be happy with how slow they are going around the circuit to fill in the remaining spots.
What's interesting, Conor, is the way that Max Verstappen is very much positioned to where Alonso is. He's not pointing in a straight line. He's very much aimed the car towards Alonso, already showing that he needs to make sure he's defending that position against Fernando.
Yeah, and I think they're going to go to the lights now because they got the green man waving the flag at the back.
Yeah, everything looks good on the sides. Everything looks green as we are going to the red lights. Let's see what Fernando Alonso can do. Lights out already. Max Verstappen looks like he's got the start over Fernando Alonso, and it looks like it's going to be an easy one. Carlos Sainz looking down the inside, one lock up by Lewis Hamilton. It looks like it's going to stay the same. I think, was that Magnussen or Mick Schumacher on Lewis Hamilton there? He might have got past him.
I think that's Magnussen. I think, yeah.
Hamilton, yeah, just managed to get that position, but it looks like Esteban Ocon's took Mick Schumacher there.
Yeah, good start from everyone through, but a couple of drivers already lost positions, it looks like. Max is already flying away. Alonso, slow start from him, so the gap's already opening up. So Carlos, I think Carlos has got to get past Alonso in this lap in order to try and challenge Max, because otherwise it looks as though Max is going to fly away. I think he might already be half a second ahead of that Alpine, so
yeah,
Carlos has got to do some work here.
Oh, George Russell looking to make a move on Mick Schumacher. Oh, was that contact? It looked a bit dodgy there.
Got it done.
George Russell, yeah, does get the move done there. Daniel Ricciardo looks to be doing that, but Zhou Guanyu looks to be pretty close to the McLaren as well. So a lot of close battles back there as well. So keep an eye on them. As that looks like Daniel Ricciardo.
Yeah, Ricciardo is in 9th behind Mick Schumacher. But that's long straight. It's going to be where, someone's dropping, one of the Alfa Romeos dropping there. It's Valtteri Bottas. Not sure why he dropped there.
Yeah.
He might have just been caught out from something.
He went a bit wide. He went through the chicane. I was going to say, he looked a bit like he went a bit wide, but I think maybe he didn't get the corner done. So we've got Latifi down at the back of the grid as well. So I'm not sure what's happened to Latifi, but of course he's lost a couple of places from there. Mick Schumacher has lost 2 as well.
You got to remember, Latifi was only ahead of, Charles and Tsunoda, so they're in much quicker cars on the season so far than that Williams. So it's not surprising that he's dropped some places, but
looks a bit damaged on that Haas, Conor.
Yeah, it's
Kevin Magnussen there. I'm not sure if that's part of one of the incidents. I'm not sure. Did he have a tussle with Esteban Ocon? I'm not too sure where he's had that from, but it looks like his front wings are a little bit damaged there, so we'll keep an eye on that, see if the FIA have anything to say about it. But we're on board with Carlos Sainz at the moment. I mean, he will get DRS in the next lap, Conor, so DRS, he's going to have to make that move done. Hasn't done it so far.
Yeah, he's got to do it immediately straight away on this lap, because if you see already, Verstappen's already a second and a half ahead of Alonso, so if he doesn't get it done this lap, we're looking at potentially of Max being 2.5 seconds ahead by the start of lap 4. Given the way that the race has evolved so far, just getting a replay of the race start, Alonso is very slow off.
Yeah,
Carlos Sainz almost got him into turn 1, just about half a car length behind Alonso, and then he parked that car on the inside of turn 2, approaching towards turn 3 and then onto turn 4. So yeah, that's how it stayed. And contact between Haas and Mercedes. I think Lewis's back tire hit the front wing of the Haas driver there. Not much he could do there on the inside because he was being squeezed by the Haas driver. And then we're getting a replay as well of Valtteri Bottas having to miss the chicane. Couldn't brake enough to take the corner, so he had to take the escape road, and he hit the escape road sign as well as he went through. So hopefully that's still in place so that driver's nowhere to go.
Sainz does make the move on Fernando Alonso using DRS down that back straight. So yeah, Conor, he has now made that move done on lap 3. And as you say, 2.5 seconds now the gap.
Yeah, it's already 2.5 seconds, so he's got a lot of work now to close that gap. But without DRS, it could be very difficult.
Mm.
And he's going to have Alonso on his tail as well throughout the next lap. Haas are just saying to Magnussen that the wing's okay, even though it's hanging off by a thread there as he went round the corner. You can see the side of the front wing hanging off just a little bit. But surely when he comes in for his stop, surely that's going to get replaced. And I'm not too sure what he said to Ocon there, but
no, I think Ocon's trying to play the game of getting him into the pits, because he said it could be quite dangerous if he hangs on with that front wing. So obviously just trying to gain the place there is Esteban Ocon using team radio. Yeah, I mean, Lewis Hamilton now, of course, will be closing in on Fernando Alonso, so this could be quite a tasty battle in itself. But yeah, the gap is 3 seconds between Sainz and Verstappen, and of course Sainz won't get DRS, as you say, so it is very much now how Carlos can close the gap. Alonso does have DRS to Carlos though, so he's still got it at this lap, so Hamilton won't be making a move on Fernando this lap. But yeah, like I said, this could be quite a tasty battle of two ex-teammates here, battling for this third place.
Yeah, Verstappen with the quickest lap, 118.3, I think that was. 118.3 for Max Verstappen. You have to think as well, at this point of the race, given how quickly Max has managed to get ahead of Sainz, is he potentially looking to go a bit longer on these medium tyres to stretch out the stint a little bit, because he's not going to be wearing them out as much, and push ahead further than what he already is later on in the race. My sound's just gone for some reason. I couldn't hear myself. There we go.
I've got you.
You got me.
Yeah.
I can't hear myself for some reason. There we go.
Well, I've got you. Don't worry. It's still coming through. I'll just while you're having a look at that, then I'll just mention in terms of like the tyre compounds as well, because obviously, as we say, the strategy will come into place with there, as it looks like Russell making a manoeuvre on Magnussen there, and does get it done before the back straight. So that's George Russell up to 5th place as well. But I was just going to mention in terms of the drivers that I've got the hard compound tyre on at the moment. That is Sergio Perez, Valtteri Bottas, Lando Norris, and Leclerc and Stroll. Sainz saying he's already got left graining, which is not good. So he's made that manoeuvre on Fernando Alonso, but he's not making much manoeuvre on it.
Yeah, but he's just posted in the fastest lap. So is it because he's pushing too hard on the tyre already? Should the Ferraris be thinking about an alternative strategy to try and catch Max out with in the pit stops? 2 drivers already coming in for their pit stops, Gasly and Sebastian Vettel, and I'm not too sure what they've put tyres on. Saying Magnussen at the moment is falling down the order because of that front wing issue, although he's still going at the moment. And showing a replay of Zhou Guanyu, who had a great qualifying, as you mentioned earlier yesterday, taken on I think that was Daniel Ricciardo there for 9th position. So, and then a move there from George Russell, as you mentioned as well, on Kevin Magnussen, but Kevin Magnussen's driving around in an injured car at the moment. Charles Leclerc up to 15th on the hard tyres. Black and white flag for Valtteri Bottas for failing to follow race director's instructions. I think that might be because he hit the runoff sign, well, that chicane before the start finish straight. But yeah, good start for Leclerc climbing through the order, but he's on those hard tyres as well, so he's going to be on a different pit strategy than Verstappen and Sainz at the front of the grid. And they're saying that 2-stop race is potential because of the fact that the medium tyres aren't holding up. You already mentioned about Carlos Sainz having graining on his front left. I wonder if Max Verstappen's having any graining on his tyre as well. But ultimately, it's a good start for Max so far.
Yeah, I'm just having a look because for some reason...
Gasly there. He had to go into the pits because he was trying to move on... I don't know if he was actually going into the pits or not, but he was on the outside there of another driver on the track. Did you see that? That was weird on the replay. It looked like He was trying to do a move on the outside, but had to go into the pits instead. I think they got to bring in Magnussen to replace his front wing because he can't keep on going on like this. He's just falling down the order.
Yeah, he's having to go into the pits. I think he's been told that he's got, like you said, he's got that flag. I'm just trying to see, for some reason, our Zoom meeting's telling me that we've only got a few minutes left, even though there's only 2 of us in it. So it's already doing a countdown. So
no.
I'm just setting up another one to send across, but it may be that we lose Conor here within a few minutes. But yeah, I'm not sure what's going on. It normally says if it's 3 or more people, you've only got a certain time limit, but obviously there is 2 of us in it, so for some reason it's being a bit random today. Yeah, I'll send another link across if that does that.
Science has closed the gap up a little bit. It was 3 seconds at one point. Now it's about 2.7, so he's closing up a little bit, but he's still got Alonso on his tail, and that gap's only just about 1 second. So luckily, Carlos isn't going to have Alonso with DRS on the final sector 3 straight before the start finish, but it's got to open up. Oh, Red Bull slowing down.
Oh no, who is that?
Red Bull slow down. It is Sergio Perez.
Oh no.
Sergio Perez is slowing down.
The wrong one.
And
that's the wrong driver.
He's off the track, and that is it for Sergio Perez. It looks as though car failure there, yellow flag, sector 2 out at the moment. Could be a virtual safety car given where he's positioned at the end of that straight with the DRS. I think that's DRS straight there, near 8 and 9. So they're going to have to bring out a virtual safety car because the marshals are on the track as well, and the cars go really quick down that straight there before the corner. So it's very dangerous for them to be there. We'll lock up there as well in the first corner. Yep, the virtual safety car is out.
Who was that? That was Albon and Bottas, I think, wasn't it? Going into the turn 1 there. I don't know who that was that locked up. It might have been Albon in front, but
yeah, riding on a ball with Charles Leclerc, and he's got Norris, Bottas, and Albon ahead of him. One of them locked up going into turn 1, but the virtual safety car is out, so everyone's going to slow down. And this will give an opportunity here for Sainz to just to rest his tyres a little bit and close up on towards Max, with them going at 40 speed. But luckily for Max at the moment, there is no full safety car, which would result in all the cars bunching up together. So they're just going at a slower speed. And the weekend goes from bad for worse for Sergio Perez after a good win in Monaco and finishing on the podium in Baku. He's now out of the race in Canada. And just highlighted on the screen here, pit stops at the moment, 9.5 seconds saved or lost under the virtual safety car.
Oh,
so yeah, that would be
Verstappen's in the
9.5
pits.
seconds. And Verstappen is coming in as a result. So could he potentially go onto the hard tyre here early, or is he going to go onto a second stint of the medium?
He might go into the
Ferrari
hard,
pit
though.
crew are out as well. So maybe that was a bit of mind games there from Ferrari pit crew. Carlos Sainz has stayed out and goes into the race lead. Max pits under the safety car, though, and gets the advantage of the time there. He goes onto the hard tyres. Lewis is pitting as well, and he goes onto the hard tyres as well. But Fernando Alonso is in second. Verstappen exits into third. Russell jumps into fourth. Ocon into fifth. And then Hamilton will come out potentially behind Mick Schumacher here. Is he going to get to the line in time?
Oh.
Yes, he does. So he's just ahead of Mick Schumacher there.
Because, of course, you're allowed to go faster on the pit exit than you are on the track. So he made up great place there.
So Lewis Hamilton gets a crucial pit stop there, with Sainz and Alonso and Russell and Ocon having to pit as well still later on in the race. So this could be a great position here for Hamilton to potentially find himself in a podium position maybe later on in the race if all goes to plan for him. And how much time we got left on this Zoom meeting?
we have 3 minutes, so I don't know whether it's worth ending and joining while we're under the virtual safety car. Because we've got two minutes.
Your camera will still stay on the stream, won't it? So
yeah. It'll just be you.
Okay. Yeah. We'll end it then.
Okay. I'll end it. I've sent you the link, so I'll start the new one.
Okay. I'll leave this one then.
We'll do a quick pit stop. Right. Hopefully. Hopefully that all works. So while Conor comes back onto the stream, not sure what's going on today. Hopefully this one lasts the full distance, as Conor is back already. So hopefully that was a decent pit stop for us. We'll see how long this bloody Zoom lasts.
Yeah, I got the tyres changed, even though I'm not driving a car. So. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, in terms of being on lap 11 now, so Carlos Sainz is now leading this race, but of course Max Verstappen has already made that pit stop. He's on the harder compound tyre now. Sainz was a few laps ago talking about how he was already having front grain in, so annoyingly for him, Ferrari must have said you obviously do the opposite to what Max does, and that's why both pit crews were out. So this is going to be interesting to see how long Sainz can last.
I'm not too sure what they said on the team radio there for Ferrari to Carlos Sainz, but obviously this is a big moment in the race, really, as we wait to see how quickly these hard tyres can warm up compared to the mediums. But then again, the mediums have been a couple of laps old now in this race, as we're watching Hamilton now try and challenge Ocon, who is on the older medium tyres, and Hamilton does get the job done. So maybe that is an indication of how quickly these hard tyres can be fired up. As you do mention, he gets a bit of a lock up there. I think the key one to watch would be how quickly does Max close up the gap to Fernando Alonso as this race goes on. At the moment, it's only half a second, I want to say, because I don't think that's an interval between the two, second and third, the 3.4. I think that's just an interval
between Alonso and Verstappen
leader.
himself.
Yeah. So at the moment, Verstappen's not too far away from Alonso, it looks as though.
But of course, this is Lewis Hamilton will be chasing down his teammate George Russell now, and of course Hamilton has made that pit stop onto the fresher, harder compound tyres, and obviously he will be chasing down his teammate George Russell now, who hasn't pitted and is still on the medium compound tyres, as we see Zhou Guanyu trying to make a manoeuvre on Mick Schumacher. Great qualifying performance from both Schumacher and Zhou Guanyu over this weekend as well. Does have DRS, Schumacher does not. Is he going to be able to make that manoeuvre as we go over the start-finish straight past the Wall of Champions? Zhou, I think he has DRS as well. He should do anyway. Doesn't look like he's going to make it. I don't think he's going to make it this lap. But Max Verstappen on that new fresher tyres, another fastest lap, a 1:17.3 at the moment.
Just back to your Mercedes point, Hamilton closing the gap up to George. Do you think Toto pushes that button that says team orders and he goes, let Lewis pass here, he's on a different strategy than you, George, let him pass, get him that free air to run in, because obviously Max is going to drive off into the distance with that Red Bull powered car. If George gives the room for Hamilton to start driving off, it could open the gap a lot up for him in the future for a pit stop if these hard tyres don't go to the end of the race, which I don't think they would, given that they pitted around lap 10 or so. I don't think these hard tyres will last 60 laps. It'll be a very tough challenge for them to do that. Charles Leclerc making up positions, up 6 from his starting position of 19th, but on the back of Lando Norris now. He's been stuck behind these guys since the safety car, of course. But now he's got an opportunity to try and take that McLaren, as he's right on the back of it with DRS as he comes down the inside of the final chicane, and he gets the job done there. So now on to Valtteri Bottas for the Ferrari driver.
We have seen quite a few. I know they're all DRS assisted, but there are a few overtakes going into that section, going into the final corner, into the Wall of Champions there before the start-finish straight. And I know, like I said, they are DRS assisted, of course, with that long back straight, but it is... we are getting some overtaking manoeuvres done, which is quite nice to see. But I think what of course Verstappen and Hamilton and maybe all the drivers, I think, will obviously be hoping that there is a safety car maybe during this race, a full safety car, which will allow them maybe to take a more freer pit stop, or another virtual safety car, which might benefit some of the drivers. And I think obviously in the long run that will help both Verstappen, Hamilton, Tsunoda made one, Vettel made one, Gasly, Latifi and Magnussen had to come in for his pit stop as well. well. So they all may get a bonus of that virtual safety car in the long run. But yeah, obviously, when you look at a driver like Charles Leclerc starting on the hards from the very beginning, he will be able to go a lot longer in this race than what the top 10 or what were the top 10. So if we say Ocon in 6th, Mick Schumacher 7th, Zhou Guanyu 8th, Ricciardo 9th, all of them drivers are on the medium compound tyres. So theoretically, a driver like Leclerc and Norris, they should be able to go a little bit longer than them few drivers as well. So we've got Russell team radio. Or maybe we haven't because it's not coming through.
Alonso 5.2 seconds behind Sainz. Verstappen has closed the gap into DRS range on Alonso. So I think an overtake's going to be coming up very soon, and we are on board on the coverage with Max Verstappen as he closes up towards Alonso in that Sector 2 DRS zone. Can't get it done there, but they are very close to one another. So you imagine as they enter Sector 3 in that long straight before the chicane and the start-finish straight, this Red Bull is going to go flying past that Alpine. And I don't know if Alpine's going to say battle against Verstappen here because Alonso is on the older medium tyres. But obviously he's not going to make it an easy task for Verstappen. No, I say that incorrectly because he just glides past him.
He's a bit of a sitting duck there, Fernando.
Yeah, he was. And that's the point I was trying to make with the medium tyres. But I was hoping that Alonso, with his experience in the past, would put a bit of a fight. But I think that's the wise decision there for Alonso, just to let him past. He put more of a battle, I think, against Russell, but that gap's about 5 seconds at the moment, so we've got to wait for that battle to happen. But now Verstappen will be looking to close up the gap towards Carlos Sainz and try and get himself back into first position. A lock up there for Valtteri Bottas, challenging Albon there, and that opens the door a little bit for Charles Leclerc to try and attack, but he's a bit too far behind to get the overtake done going into turn 4 and 5. So you'll have to wait a little bit, but Charles is almost in the top 10 here on these hard tyres.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, George Russell's team radio half a lap ago did say that, in terms of our actual race strategy, if he needs to be let past, just let me know. Effectively, we know Hamilton obviously, has made that pit stop. He is technically the first Mercedes driver in this race, even though Russell is ahead of him at the moment. And so I think he's saying, just play it simple with the strategy because one of us could be on the podium, even though he realises it might be his teammate today. But I think obviously getting that Mercedes on the podium is key. It doesn't matter which driver it is. So I think Russell's already mentioning that to the team. So keep an eye out for that because he is within 2 seconds of Russell right now, is Lewis Hamilton. So yeah, we may see something happening in the next lap or so.
Yeah, Valtteri Bottas looking to get past Albon here around the outside. No, he can't get a job done going into the chicane. But now Charles Leclerc is right on the back of them. But that start-finish straight isn't really long enough for anyone to really challenge unless they break late into turn 1. But neither driver is going to do that. So they'll stay in those same positions going around turns 2 and 3.
I tell you what, Conor, that is a fast Williams with no DRS there. He must be using his battery on that main straight there. Because the fact that he didn't have DRS and both Bottas and Leclerc do, and he still manages to keep ahead there. I mean, that is great job from the Williams team there.
But if you're Ferrari and you're looking at Charles Leclerc sitting behind these two for the past 3 laps, you're starting to get a bit frustrated here. You need him to get the job done and to try and at least challenge Bottas to then go on towards Albon. You don't need to take both of them with one swoop, but they're both there for that to happen.
Yeah.
But they must be starting to get a little bit frustrated that Charles can't get past these two and try and get some clean air, or at least get towards Daniel Ricciardo and into the top 10 a bit more. He's looking to get around the outside there, Bottas, but he just couldn't get past Albon. He's going to have another attempt to go onto the DRS, and he has positioned his car on the outside once more as they go swooping down that straight. They're looking like side by side, 2 abreast going into turn. I think it's almost there.
I tell you what, Albon again was very close to making that great defence, but he could be compromised here.
Yeah, Bottas got the job done, and it may have opened the door for Charles to come through as well, and it has. So there you go. Albon loses 2 positions there with Bottas and Charles Leclerc overtaking him as they go on to lap 18 of this race.
Yeah, had to defend that move from Valtteri Bottas, but in terms of that, Valtteri didn't really give him much space there. So, Albon was a bit compromised to Leclerc as well. So, yeah, unfortunately for Alex Albon, losing 2 places, but great manoeuvring from him, and of course, getting everything out of that Williams on that back straight without DRS. So, yeah, hopefully that can continue for them. But for Bottas, getting that job done, has been waiting a few laps to do so, and Leclerc says thank you very much. I'll take that place from Albon as well. So I mean, just what, like you said, just what Leclerc needed. He's now got to get Bottas out of the way as well now.
Yeah, Bottas is going to be difficult because he's been driving that Alfa Romeo very well throughout the year so far. But Charles is in the much quicker car, so he should be looking to get this job done in the next few laps, if not this lap, as we watch Schumacher and Zhou go through Carlos Sainz team radio. Something about strategy there.
I think they said better than expected, so they're still on plan A. But I mean, I can say we haven't really mentioned it at the moment for the last couple of laps or so, but the gap is about 4.4 seconds between Sainz and Verstappen. But Ferrari are still pretty comfortable where they are at the minute now, as we see Albon, after losing them 2 places, has come into the pits.
Yeah, so it's now a challenge for Verstappen to try and close it. Oh, Zhou's looking on the inside there of Mick Schumacher, and he does get past in
Very nice manoeuvre
in
there.
sector 2. Very nice move. Oh, Mick Schumacher braked late, and he went off the track a little bit there. So he's lost out to Ricardo as well. Yellow flag in sector 2. He's dropping down the order, so he has fallen behind. I don't know if he's come back onto the track yet.
There's a yellow flag.
No, he's
pulled
not.
Off.
Is off, and that's going to be another virtual safety car. So this could be an opportunity for Sainz and Alonso, and Russell's already pitted. So Russell's already in the pits after the virtual safety car has been deployed. Virtual safety car, Russell in the pit. He's going to get that 9.5 second advantage on his pit stop. Carlos Sainz, so must have gone past.
Yeah.
So he's lost the opportunity to pit here. How long is this virtual safety car going to be out for him to get a pit stop here and try and get back into this race not too far behind?
Yeah, Sainz, I think Sainz just missed it. Sainz just missed that virtual safety car there, but everybody else behind Russell is making that pit stop. Bottas hasn't, because he's still on a hard compound tyre. I don't know if he actually made a pit stop. Has he made a pit stop already? I don't know. I think he started on the hards. He started on the hards. So, he's obviously not the driver that's doing so. Norris is, and he did start on the hard compound tyre. But, yeah, annoyingly, both Sainz and Alonso missed out there.
Yeah, Vettel's in for another stop. So
that's interesting. He pitted earlier on
the
other.
And McLaren weren't ready for. I think they double stacked maybe, and that's why they weren't ready. But that's not good for Norris, as now he's fallen way down the order, and he's lost all the advantage that came with pitting under the virtual safety car. He comes out behind, dead last in the race. So he's going to have to make these hard tyres work for him, I think, and we get a replay of Mick Schumacher's situation. Such an unfortunate situation for Mick. He had a great starting position on the grid, but it looks as though it was just a component failure in his car. His steering wheel switched off completely. So
that's why Zhou made that manoeuvre. We thought that was a good manoeuvre, but actually it was the fact that Mick was going so slowly. But yeah, I mean, absolutely gutting for Mick, because that, like you said, great qualifying for him. This could have been his first points.
And that is a Ferrari coming out of the pits, and I think that's... It is
Sainz.
Yeah.
Oh, so he stays ahead of Lewis Hamilton there, so that wasn't too bad of a pit stop, actually, even though the virtual safety car had come in. So it's just Fernando Alonso in that top lot now that hasn't made a pit stop so far. But obviously in doing this now, Max Verstappen is in the lead, and he's in the lead by about 7 seconds now to Fernando Alonso. So, this is going to be an interesting battle between Mercedes and Ferrari here. Can Lewis stay with Carlos?
It'll be intriguing to see if Lewis with warmer tyres can take Carlos here. Virtual safety car's gone, so they're going to get the DRS on that back straight. Could be an opportunity here for Lewis to try and jump Carlos whilst he tries to get his tyres up to the right temperature. But Alonso's in picture as well.
Yeah.
So here we go. Lewis Hamilton, does he get DRS? Yes, he does. as he flies down that straight, trying to approach that Ferrari, but he might be too far behind to get the overtake done. Make yourself big in the wind mirrors.
Do you think is Alonso going a one stop here, Connor?
Well, he has to, I think, now.
I think he's going a bit too long to not, but
yeah, he's got to now. I mean, as soon as Hamilton, I think, overtakes him, I think he's got to think about pitting, because Russell and Ocon have already pitted behind him.
Ooh, Leclerc making a manoeuvre on Bottas there. Sorry.
Yeah, as soon as Sainz and Hamilton take him, I think, because they're going to do it at some point. You know, he's not going to stay ahead on these medium tires for too long, given that they're 10 laps older than what Hamilton's got with the hards. You know, as soon as Hamilton overtakes him, I think he's got to think about pitting, or potentially even before that, potentially as soon as even Sainz takes him, he's got to think about pitting, just in terms of keeping the position on track and not falling too far behind the others. Because, you know, if he's able to pit and, you know, Russell goes out ahead of him, you'll likely maybe come out ahead of Ocon.
Yeah, very close now between Sainz and Alonso. Sainz has managed to close down Alonso very quickly here, so I'm expecting an overtake from Sainz here. And of course, Lewis Hamilton is under a second for Sainz as well. So yeah, these manoeuvres could be done pretty quickly. But as we see, Sainz making that manoeuvre done before we get to the Wall of Champions. So he's done that. He's made sure he's up to second place now. Gap between him and Verstappen, 9.5 seconds.
Yeah, and I think as though Hamilton will probably take him going into near the end of Sector 2 and that other DRS zone. And was watching a replay of the McLaren pit stop. It was a complete mess.
So they messed up Ricciardo's one, and that's why it was so slow for Norris.
Yeah, so they did do the double stack, but they just weren't ready. And medium tyres were going on for Norris, but the medium tyre wasn't there, and they put the wrong tyre on there. That's why they put the wrong tyre on. They put the Ricciardo's tyres on. And that was just all over the place there for McLaren, and a good overtake here by Charles, just keeping it off the curve. He took too much more. If he took another inch of that curve, he could have gone into the Wall of Champions there. Luckily, he managed to keep it on the track.
As we see a Wall of Champions here between Fernando Alonso and Lewis Hamilton. I think Lewis has got to make this manoeuvre, and he looks very close as he goes there to the inside line down this main straight here before we get to the World Champions, and does make that manoeuvre done before we get to the final couple of corners. So yeah, Lewis Hamilton is now up to third place. He's lost about 2.5 seconds to Carlos Sainz there, but I think Mercedes will be pretty happy with how that's transpired so far. So
yeah, because of course Lewis pitted under the first virtual safety car, so the fact that he's right on the tail of Carlos Sainz, that'll be good for them. And Joe here on the tail of Lance Stroll as they go through past the Wall of Champions, looking to take over the Canadian in his home race, but can't get past him as they go through turn 1 and 2. So they'll stay in 9th and 10th respectively. And I'm intrigued to see when Alonso comes in now, because as you mentioned, you know, it's definitely got to be a one-stop race for him, unless he decides to go on the softs later on in the race. But I imagine, given how well the hard tyres performed for, you know, Sainz and Hamilton, and how well it's done for Max Verstappen as well, who's now 9 seconds ahead of Sainz, I imagine the hard tyre will be the tyre of choice for Alonso, and then he'll try and stretch it out until the end of the race.
Yeah, I think another virtual safety car or a safety car, I think, is maybe what Alonso and Alpine are going to be looking towards now. Of course, if there is a red flag incident, then they are able to change their tyres, you know, during that red flag incident. So that's another thing that could come into play in the strategy for Alpine. But I think the gap's about 8 seconds between Alonso and Russell, so there is a little bit of a gap now between, you know, Alonso and the next Mercedes. So, you know, they might still bide their time with that, but you're absolutely right in the sense that they don't want to waste too much time, because if they do have to pit under normal racing conditions, then he is going to fall down the pecking order slightly, and he he may have the newer and fresher tyres, but you've still got to get them overtaking manoeuvres done. So yeah, it is going to be interesting how Alpine try and get this done now. But I feel like they are obviously going to have to hope for something to happen on track for them to help them during the race. But if I just go, we're on lap 25 at the minute, so I will just go through the running order. So the majority of drivers, I think, have pitted. It is only just, I think, Fernando Alonso and some of the drivers that started on the hard compound tyres. But I'll just go through the running order as how it stands at the moment. So Max Verstappen is still leading the race. He does have the fastest lap as well. It's about 9 seconds between him and Carlos Sainz. Lewis Hamilton is about 3.5 seconds behind Sainz himself, so he's up to 3rd place. Alonso hasn't pitted at the moment. He's in 4th position. We've got Russell in 5th, Ocon 6th. Charles Leclerc has made his way up to 7th from starting in 19th place. We've got Bottas in 8th. Lance Stroll is 9th. Bottas and Stroll, I believe, haven't pitted as well. So and Leclerc, of course, hasn't done so either. Zhou Guanyu is in 10th. We've got Yuki Tsunoda 11th. Daniel Ricciardo 12th. Pierre Gasly is 13th. Vettel is 14th. We've got Magnussen 15th. Albon is 16th. Norris, after that terrible double stack from McLaren, so Ricciardo's dropped a few places, but Norris is the worse off. He's now in 17th. And Nicholas Latifi is in 18th. And sadly, we've lost Mick Schumacher, who was looking really good in the points, sadly for him, and Sergio Perez as well. As Conor mentioned, not a great day yesterday, and yeah, not a great weekend overall for Perez, and not great for his championship points as well. So he is also out of the race.
The gap's closing a little bit between Sainz and Verstappen. 8.9 from the 9, so it's close by 10.
Temp's important, Conor.
Yeah, temps are very important in Formula One. But now we're on with a visual of Charles Leclerc closing up the gap to Esteban Ocon for 6th position. Charles Leclerc starting on the hard tyre, and at the moment, hard tyres serving him well, but in the next 10 laps or so, you start to think about potentially taking a pit stop and going on to the medium tyre to the end of the race, potentially, if you can stretch it out that far. And from what we've seen with Alonso in 4th position, 27 lap older medium tyres, it's very possible to play this medium tyre 30 plus laps. So it won't be out of the question for Charles to keep on pushing on these hard tyres. But then later on in the race for him, the medium tyre will come into play very nicely, with it being the quicker race tyre. So at the moment, though, he's got to try and get past Ocon and get that move done. And then I think he's probably got some clear air, because we can't really see George Russell in sight of Ocon. And I think they're quite a distance away from one another.
I was going to say, Russell has closed the gap on Fernando Alonso, so it was about 8 seconds. It's now 2.4 seconds. So Russell is closing that gap on the fresher hard compound tyres. Interestingly, because obviously the wet conditions that we've had, the teams have a bit more variety on which tyres they can put on as well, whereas they haven't had to use some sets in practice and qualifying. So that might be another aspect for them to look at as well. But we are seeing the onboard of Esteban Ocon, because Charles Leclerc is under a second between him here, so it could be that Leclerc tries to make a manoeuvre going into turn 1. Is he close enough? I'm not sure he is in this lap. He might have to wait till the next one. But yeah, Charles Leclerc trying to get higher up the order to get that maximum number of points, because at the minute his title rival is sitting pretty with about 8.5 seconds to his teammate Carlos Sainz.
Yeah, Ocon 13-14 seconds behind Russell. So as soon as Charles gets ahead of Ocon here, he could start to coast a little bit and to save his tyres for a push later on in the race. And of course, he's got the new engine components in his car as well. So hopefully that gives him that extra raw power from the engine itself to push on and potentially try and get towards that top 5. But we'll have to see really how the gap closes once he gets past Ocon here, as he looks for the outside. Alpine's telling Alonso to box, so he's in the pits now for his pit stop. It would be interesting to see if he's able to come out ahead of Ocon, but I think they're too far. Sorry, Alonso's too. What am I trying to say here? Ocon is too quick to for Alonso to get back out ahead of him, I don't think. It looks as though Ocon does jump him, and does Leclerc jump Alonso as well? Yeah, he's going to jump him very easily there. But now he's got the challenge of Alonso on the back of him with those new fresh hard tyres. Leclerc, so he's not got this job done, and now he's an Alpine sandwich. So
yeah,
he's got some work to do now.
No, Leclerc's not happy in terms of grip on the car. And again, as I said, we were looking at Alonso, but Leclerc wasn't able to get Ocon done, even with the two DRS zones at the end of the last sector. So yeah, even though Ferrari is a much quicker car than the Alpine, even though Alpine's made some great progress this year, Leclerc's still struggling to get past Esteban Ocon here. And as you say, he is stuck in a bit of an Alpine sandwich here, because Fernando Alonso, if Esteban Ocon's still managing to keep Leclerc behind, Fernando Alonso will be catching up to this little pack here as well. So let's just see as we go down this main straight here at the Canadian Grand Prix if Leclerc can get a little bit closer. But once again, Esteban Ocon's Alpine looks pretty fast without DRS.
Yeah, just Leclerc just trying to do everything he can to close up the gap, but he just looks really, really slow actually compared to the Alpine, and it just looks super quick. And as these two battle on, Alonso's just behind them, warming up his hard tyres and getting ready to join the battle, I think. And as Ocon here helping out his teammate in terms of his battle in this race by holding up Leclerc. So
yeah, and of course, Conor, for Leclerc, I mean, it's not looking great, because he's struggling to get past here. He hasn't made a pit stop yet, so unless he has a virtual safety car or an instant to allow him a free pit stop, he's going to have to make a normal one, which sees him go back down the pack for 25 seconds. So at this minute, he is going to struggle to get a point.
Yeah, he's got to get this move done soon if he's going to get it done. Otherwise, he may as well start thinking about pit stop strategy later on in the race. As we go around for another attempt, so I think it'll be the third one for Charles on Esteban Ocon, as that gap opened up between Russell and Ocon. I think it's 15 seconds now. Charles gets another chance to push, but he's too far behind to challenge him going into the chicane. So we'll sit behind the Alpine as they go past the wall of champions and onto the start-finish straight. DRS open again for Charles, but he's still too far behind. And they'll go through turn one in the same positions there of fifth and sixth.
I think we're seeing here that obviously Esteban Ocon is saving his energy system for that main straight, obviously with the fact that he doesn't have DRS to benefit him either. But that Alpine, in terms of its power unit, is showing its strength, a bit like what Alex Albon was able to do a little bit earlier against Valtteri Bottas, aiming to save that energy for that main straight, knowing that they need it at that point. And even without DRS, he's able to keep that Ferrari behind, and it could be the fact that Leclerc hasn't pitted yet, and the grip's starting to go away a little bit slightly in terms of them hard compound tyres, but he's just struggling to get that traction down to allow him to be close enough to get that, to make DRS effective. So we're going back into that final sector here now to just see if maybe he's a little bit closer. He might be, but again, Esteban Ocon's already up the road.
Yeah, DRS open for Leclerc. Here we go, fourth time now, going down this long straight. As I think Leclerc may look to take a lunge here. Oh no, he's still too far behind. He did look a little bit to the right to see if he could get into the side mirrors there of Ocon and to really challenge him, but you may get an opportunity going into turn one. No, he's still too far behind.
I think it's very much, it has to get done before that final chicane, before the start-finish straight, because that DRS on the main start-finish straight just isn't as effective because it's not long enough. So I think Leclerc needs to make sure as he gets down that final straight, he has to make sure he gets that manoeuvre done there, because I just don't think he's going to be able to get it done anywhere else at the minute.
No, I don't think so. I think you're right there. Sainz has closed up the gap to Verstappen. It's 8 seconds now, 8.1 seconds. Hamilton to Sainz, so is 7.5. And then Hamilton to Russell is 10.2. So there's a big gap there forming up. and
We've got
is all.
Stroll here, Zhou, Sonoda, and Daniel Ricciardo. Probably the drivers that are most closest to each other here, all battling for ninth place. This could be a little DRS train that's happening here. Stroll sort of holding everybody else up behind. Doing a good job though for Lance Stroll at his home race. Better than his other Canadian counterpart in Nicholas Latifi, who is at the back of the pack at the moment. But yeah, again, Lance Stroll able to keep Zhou Guanyu behind, even with Zhou having DRS. But yeah, they're all sort of just sticking it in the same place at the moment.
I think because of these lot of these hard tires, if you look at the battle between Sainz and Verstappen at the top, that gap's dropping. I think this is going to become a two-stop race here because the hard tire, although it is looking good, I just don't think it's going to be able to last the race for a lot of these drivers, especially with these battles going on. So we see Max Verstappen come through to start the 34th lap of the race. But yeah, he's already saying that he's losing tire grip. So that goes into well with what Charles was saying earlier as well with his tires. It's an opportunity here for potentially some strategies and pit stops coming into play, because at the moment a lot of the drivers that have stopped under the virtual safety car, so they're taking advantage of that time, that time game that they get with the virtual safety car and the cars going slower around the track. With it being a two-stop race, though, there may not be another virtual safety car. There may not be another safety car. So they've got to time these pit stops correctly in order to try and gain an advantage over their competitors on the track. And that comes into play, especially at the top between Verstappen and Sainz, given that Sainz's tyres are 10 laps younger than Verstappen because he pitted under the first virtual safety car. So I'm intrigued to see how quickly this gap can close between Verstappen and Sainz at the top. At the moment, it's only 8 seconds. Sainz has the quickest lap time on the race so far, and it was only about 4 or 5 laps ago that race the time between the two drivers was about 9 seconds. So he's closing the gap up a little bit, and at some point, I think if Sainz keeps on pushing, and so does enforces bit of a rough tumble there, so racing over the curves there for Sainz. Got to be careful there, that corner, otherwise he find himself into the war of champions. But as the race goes on and Max is continuing to push to keep the gap from Sainz, it's going to open up in the second pit stop window, I think, for both of those drivers to try and determine who comes out on top and into the race lead later on. Lap 35 though, and as you mentioned earlier, Lance Stroll still holding up Valtteri Bottas and not Valtteri Bottas, Zhou Guanyu, Yuki Tsunoda, and Daniel Ricciardo there as they go down that sector 3 straight and then past the chicane and on to the start-finish straight to start their lap 35. But very much a DRS train between those 4 drivers for 9th position.
Yeah, and I'm just seeing Sebastian Vettel slowly closing the gap up to Daniel Ricciardo as well. So I think Vettel might be joining the party in a few laps time. Maybe that's part of Stroll's strategy, get the other Aston Martin into play. I don't know, but good job so far from Lance Stroll, because he is managing to keep that position, and obviously being a points position as well, Aston Martin will very much hope that this can continue. But of course he hasn't pitted yet, so obviously unless any safety cars or any virtual safety cars can help him during that period, of course he will fall down the order when he does make his pit stop. Bottas as well hasn't done so, and Leclerc is the other one that hasn't made a pit stop so far. Another just a heads up, Zoom is trying to really ruin our stream today, because it's now just giving me another time limit. So just absolutely fantastic that that's doing so tonight. So I don't know why, but we've got about just over 6 minutes, so I'll sort it out in a minute. But
7.5 seconds between Max Verstappen and Carlos Sainz. So the hard tyre is dropping off. It is definitely going to be a 2-stop race, I think, because Max can't hold this position for much longer. The question is, when does he pit? Does he let Sainz pass him first before he decides to pit and try and take an advantage of a older race tyre for Carlos Sainz, or does he pit earlier and try and take an advantage of the hard tyre later on in the race and overtake Sainz on track? I'm thinking, I'm not too sure, but This is very intriguing. This is very intriguing because it has become a two-stop race now, given that it's clear that the hard tire is dropping off, and Charles Leclerc is closing up the gap to Esteban Ocon. And they're talking on the team radio.
Yeah, they're asking Leclerc right now. We're thinking Plan B. What are your thoughts on it? And he's like, I don't really care. I can't overtake. So, so I think Leclerc sort of lost the plot so far in this race.
I think for Charles, it would be to tyre manage now and to try and extend these hard tyres. 35 laps on the hard tyres at the moment, and the strategy guide from the beginning of the race said you could one stop on the hard tyres by pitting between 34 and 44 laps in order to then to go onto the medium tyre. And as we've seen from earlier in the race with Fernando Alonso, the medium tyre can do pretty good for any driver. So that would be in the mind of Leclerc. But ultimately, as we've mentioned, and as you've mentioned throughout the coverage so far, these drivers are going to be waiting for those virtual safety cars and the safety cars to pop up before they think about pitting now. The likes of Leclerc and Bottas and Stroll, the ones that haven't pitted yet, who are still on the hard tyres. You know, if a virtual safety car came out now for them, they would all be flying into the pits, I think. And Joe closing up the gap onto Stroll, but still in that DRS train. And Ocon gap to Russell 20 seconds. So that's a sector, that is. So that's crazy. That's a sector time now, basically, between Russell and Ocon. And that's for fourth and fifth. So this is definitely a two-stop race.
Yeah.
Sainz to Verstappen in 7 seconds. Sainz to Hamilton's 10 seconds. And Russell to Hamilton's 8 seconds. So there's almost 30 seconds there, or 26 or so seconds between.
I think it's interesting the fact that Fernando Alonso is almost chasing down Charles Leclerc here, and obviously we know Alonso has pitted now, so he does have the freshest set of tyres. But it is very much that Alonso is closing that gap. I think it said that it would be, say, maybe in 2 laps' time that Alonso might be making his own, or trying to make his own overtake maneuver done on Leclerc. So yeah, definitely something to keep an eye out here. And as I said, Vettel has closed up on this pack now onto Daniel Ricciardo. That Vettel himself is about 1.6 seconds behind Ricciardo now. So that is a very close gap as we're seeing these Alpine, Ferrari, Alpine, and yeah, Fernando Alonso is closing on Charles Leclerc here, and Leclerc with DRS again. Still not able to get past Esteban Ocon here.
Yeah, it's not good for Leclerc. He's been behind this Alpine for far too long, but at the same time, his tyres are 38 laps old. So maybe it might be time to say, this battle isn't going to happen. We're not going to take, we're not going to be able to take Ocon here. Let's just push out these hard tyres for as long as possible and then pit once Alonso closes the gap up to us. So yeah, I think that'll be the mindset of the Ferrari team right now for Charles Leclerc. Just stretch out these hard tyres as long as possible. Don't push. Oh, he's slowing down a little bit, actually. Oh, he was slowing down a little bit, it looked like, on that straight there for some reason. Unless that my eyes deceive me. But, yeah, I think the task for Charles now would be to manage these tyres for as long as possible for the next, 5 to 10 laps and then come into pit to go onto a medium tyre and stretch those medium tyres out until the end of the race, which would be the quicker tyre. And just looking at the timing sheets, at the moment, it looks as though a pit stop would bring him out. I think crucially, for Ferrari at the moment, they want to try and get Leclerc out if he was to pit for a pit stop, try and get him out ahead of Stroll, because he doesn't want him to be involved in that battle for in that DRS battle that stayed as it has been done for so long. Bottas and Stroll being on the same tyre age as as Leclerc as well. If he can if he was to pit, he would have to try and pit him and get him out ahead of Bottas. So maybe that's what Ferrari's got in mind. Maybe, there's no point in challenging Ocon here now. We're not going to get the overtake done. Let's just manage the tyres until we get the gap opened up between our pit stop time and where Bottas is flying at the moment, and make sure that you come out ahead of the Alfa Romeo so that you don't have to get involved in that DRS train battle. Seeing we've got less than a minute.
Yeah, so. I was just going to say, I think we're going to have to do our own two-stop now. So I'll end it and then I'll start the new meeting. I have sent it to you, so
okay,
we'll go again. Apologies for everybody here for this. I'm not sure what's going on tonight. Zoom is not my friend tonight. It doesn't want to play ball. So if you just lose the map slightly, we are just trying to get it sent across. So yeah, apologies for that. But yeah, I'm not sure what's going on tonight. It doesn't like me at all. So yeah, hopefully we can all get that set up. But just while Conor is joining the tracker back on the screen, Nicholas Latifi here on lap 39. They're changing the front wing a little bit, so I think they're changing the front wing angle, but they dropped the car and they had to get the front jack back up again because they didn't get the front right tyre back on properly. So yeah, very slow to stop. Not a debut really in terms of Nicholas Latifi. I mean, hasn't had a home Grand Prix because he joined Formula One in 2020 and there wasn't a Canadian Grand Prix, so this is his first Formula One Canadian Grand Prix, and it's just going from bad to worse for Nicholas Latifi there. Really slow pit stop. So yeah, unfortunately for him, that's where he is at the moment. And even Alex Albon is struggling at the moment after that second virtual safety car is all the way down in 15th position at the minute. And Lando Norris actually, and crucially, was on a fresher medium set of tyres, and he's been unable to get past Alex Albon. So I know they had that double stack issue, but he's struggling to get past the Williams as well. So yeah, really not a great weekend as Leclerc comes into box, Conor.
Yeah, he comes into box. So here we go. Is he going to be able to come back out ahead of Valtteri Bottas and Lance Stroll, or is he going to get involved in that DRS train? Medium tyres coming on as we expected. Pit stop is poor from Ferrari because they can't get the back left on, and that could be very pivotal as he is falling behind now. Yeah. Bottas and Stroll.
He might be behind Vettel.
He comes out. He's gonna be just ahead of Vettel, but he is involved in that DRS train now.
So he is now in that train, yeah, Conor. The fact that Ferrari didn't want... I mean, I think even with that dodgy pit stop, I mean, he may even have been stuck in that, but that was about 2 seconds they lost there. So he may just got ahead of Zhou Guan Yu. So yeah, this has really gone from bad to worse for Leclerc now.
Yeah, so it's going to take him about a lap or so to warm up these medium tyres, to get him up to the same temperature as what the guys ahead of him are running on the hards. And of course, being on the medium tyre, he should be taking these guys with the hard tyres very quickly. So maybe in this first stop-finish straight, we'll see him try and overtake at least Ricciardo and maybe Tsunoda, but he's going to have to wait another lap or so to try and get ahead of Bottas and Stroll. But crucially, that pit stop there for Ferrari, where they couldn't get the back left on in time, has cost Leclerc, and now he's got a bit more work to do than what he would have liked, as Ricciardo and Tsunoda are battling ahead of him.
And a point I just want to make, Conor, I mean, it's not... I said this day is going from bad to worse for Leclerc, but if you look on the driver tracker or on the screen, he's boxing, but I was just going to say, Verstappen looks like he could possibly lap Leclerc there, but Red Bull is saving his blushes because I think Max is coming in for a pit stop, so we'll just keep an eye on this, see, because a lot of them have been slow today. I don't know if it's the heat, so we'll just keep an eye on, see if Red Bull's pit stops are any good.
Looks good. Hard tyres on for Verstappen.
So that's 2.4, yeah. Lewis Hamilton is ahead. Oh, no, he's not. Oh, that was a bit of a squeeze from Lewis.
Hamilton ahead of Verstappen. So here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, you wanted a battle between Hamilton and Verstappen in 2022. We're about to get one very soon for the battle for second place. And the longer this battle goes on between these two drivers, the more opportunities Sainz will have to open up before he pits later on in this race. Interesting. Hamilton's gone on. Sorry, Verstappen has gone onto the hard tire rather than back onto the medium. I'm not too sure if that's because he doesn't have any medium tires left to use, or
I would be surprised if they didn't. Oh, just team radio to see what. Oh, he's not happy because Hamilton's ahead, but with DRS, I mean, I don't know how much Hamilton can do against that Red Bull. We'll just see now. I think it might be done on this lap. We'll just keep an eye out, but it looks, yeah. That's
there you go.
Max Verstappen already ahead of Lewis Hamilton. I think Hamilton is coming in himself, yeah.
Hamilton was boxing anyway. Yeah, Verstappen only had one set of mediums to use, 2 sets of hards. Both of them were new, so he started on the medium tyre. So yeah, he's on to his second set of hards because the softs won't last until the end of the race. And that's the same strategy that Lewis Hamilton is taking here as he comes in for his pit stop. Good pit stop there for Hamilton. He's having a great race so far. And he's going to come back out ahead, crucially, of Esteban Ocon and into some clean air as well. So he's got a good opportunity here to have a good outlap and push on towards potentially a podium finish for him today. So that'll be a great result for Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah, I'm just seeing he's only got, I think he's only got Lando Norris ahead, but obviously he's a lapped car, and then obviously George Russell. So
I'll say this as well. Just looking at the top 6 or so, I think it's top 6. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, top 7. Out of the top 7 that started the race, so Verstappen, Alonso, Sainz, Hamilton, Magnussen, Schumacher, and Ocon. Obviously, Mick's already out, but Magnussen, Ocon, and Alonso both have another medium tire that they can use. So that could come into strategy later on. For the second pit stops, does the likes of Ocon and Alonso go onto that medium tire? Could Magnussen go onto the medium tire later on to try and push through the field and get back into the top 10? He's currently in 14th at the moment. George Russell comes in and he will probably go onto another set of the hard tires as well.
I think true. I was going to say, I think a lot of people with them extra set of mediums will be keeping an eye on what Leclerc can do, because obviously he's just come in on a set of medium compound tyres, so it's how well them medium compound tyres are going to last. You know, whether Ferrari think he's going to get to the end of the race, whether they think if a safety car comes, they might have another set of tyres they can put on.
Well, here's the kicker as well, because if Leclerc can do well on these mediums and push them really hard, he could come in for another pit stop onto another set of mediums. But then again, he has gone very long onto his first stint with the hard tyres, so is it really worth the risk of pushing hard on the mediums and then seeing them drop off? We've seen Leclerc here looking to try and get past Daniel Ricciardo, but looking down that inside in sector 2 and that DRS straight there, he does get the job done, but he had to do a textbook Ricciardo, send it down the inside, and then he followed that up with another send it against Yuki Tsunoda. So now he's on to the back of Valtteri Bottas and Lance Stroll, who are yet to pit. Oh, sorry, Zhou Guanyu as well. He's in that order as well, in that DRS train.
Yeah, as we see Max Verstappen, a new fastest lap of the race. It's about 8.7 seconds. Oh, science radio. Oh. Okay. So safety car window is open, is what his engineer is saying to Carlos Sainz. So Sainz also saying back, would that be on a new set of hard compound tyres? And his engineer said yes. So yeah, we'll see if anything does happen in terms of safety car incident. But yeah, the gap is about 8.7 seconds between Sainz and Verstappen at the moment. Gap to Sainz and Hamilton is almost 20 seconds. But Lewis Hamilton with the fastest lap at the moment.
Yeah, Leclerc right on the back of Zhou, looking to get past him towards turn 1. As he's right at the back of him, he's going down the inside towards turn 1. He gets the job done, and now he's on to Lance Stroll, past Zhou and into 9th position, and marching on those medium tyres. So those medium tyres have warmed up very nicely, and that's good data as well for Ocon and Alonso, looking to get both of their Alpines high up into the points in this race, with the likes of Bottas and Stroll yet to pit behind them, and George Russell ahead yet to pit too, for another set of hard tyres. So here we go, Max Verstappen happy to push where there won't be a limitation for Max Verstappen on his second set of hard tyres. And you would think, Jack, with, you know, he only pitted a couple of laps ago, if the hard tyre can't last, you know, if it can't last 20 plus laps, you know, this should have been a free stop, you know, free stop race from the beginning, but I don't think that's true. And as Stroll goes ahead into the pits of Leclerc's got some open air now to try and attack with the medium tyres. Stroll is in. Be interesting to see where he comes back out, because obviously he was in the points. I think he's going to come out potentially behind Magnussen.
As Tsunoda pits as well. Tires, yeah.
Tsunoda pitted too. Whereas Magnussen, is he going to come past Stroll? He does, as does I think that was Sainz. Yeah, Sainz came past as well. So Sainz has lapped Stroll there, and now he's pushing on to Magnussen. So this is turning out to be a decent race for Sainz, but obviously, as you heard on the team radio between him and his engineer, he is looking for that pit stop under the safety car later on, potentially, if a safety car does emerge, and it may do, because we've got a Tsunoda is off the track here.
Has Tsunoda come out? He must have had a tyre issue in the pits. He was in the pits.
He's into the wall there at sector 1. It's going to be a virtual safety car for sure. But where's Sainz? Is he going to come into the pit? Is he going to pit? It's on the grass here. True, it could be a safety car as well. It's going to be very tough for the marshals to get rid of that car safely on the track.
That must have been a pit incident, because he was in the pits at the same time.
Safety car is out. Here we go. Let's see what happens. Where's Sainz? Where's he on the tracker? He's going to come into the pits for sure.
I think he's in the pits now. He's coming into the pits now.
It's going to be another set of hard tyres, I think, as well for him, because he doesn't have another mediums to use. And it is the hard tyres. This has to be a very good pit stop from Ferrari. Potentially race win on the line here for Carlos Sainz. It's a slow pit stop.
No!
It's a slow pit stop. He does get away. 3.7 seconds. So it's a second longer than what it needed to be. Here comes Magnussen through. There goes as well. He is behind Max Verstappen. He is behind Max Verstappen, but he is on the fresher hard tyres with 20 laps to go under the safety car. So a bit unfortunate there for Sainz, but he does have the fresher hard tyres, and crucially, he doesn't have to get past.
It is literally just him and Verstappen now, isn't it? You're right in the sense that he hasn't got Lewis Hamilton, he hasn't got George Russell. It literally is just him and Verstappen now, and he will have the fresher tyres on. So, yeah, as you mentioned a few laps ago, the engineers did say your safety car window is opened, and Yuki Tsunoda has helped him out wonders there. And yeah, Max Verstappen has only just pitted himself, so I wouldn't say it's that bad news for Max Verstappen, but yeah, it certainly helped Ferrari.
6 laps is not just, just pitting himself, really, to be honest. 6 laps is not just that. Alonso and Ocon double stack for the Alpines, medium tyres going on.
That's interesting.
Here we go. And take notes, McLaren, because that is a better 2-stack pit stop than what you did there. Although it was a bit of a slow one for Alonso, 3.8.
Alpha are doing the same thing.
Alpha doing the same thing with Bottas and Zhou. Bottas first, 4.4 seconds, so they've not really
That's not great, yeah.
the double stack at all. Very slow there.
Oh, Daniel Ricciardo also coming in.
Daniel Ricciardo onto the hard tyre. I think that's hard tyre for him.
3.5 again. McLaren having a bit of a shocker with their pit stops.
Everyone just slow.
So Daniel Ricciardo is just going ahead of the safety car there, because you can see it coming back in the screen.
So that's where they are, really. Yeah, that makes sense. So everyone from Magnussen downwards has been lapped by Sainz and the race leader in Verstappen. As Tsunoda takes a walk.
I think Magnussen was just behind Sainz there, so they'll probably let Magnussen and the lapped cars go through, obviously before then. Yuki gets a little bit of a lift there. Just trying to see what that was. Was that the tyre wasn't on properly, or did they just cold tyres? Or it looks like it's just locked up.
Yeah, going to the tyres weren't warmed up. I don't think. Really unfortunate there for Tsunoda. just looked like the tyres were warmed up for him to brake coming out of the pit because he wanted to get out in a good position. But yeah, Lewis Hamilton in the podium positions at the moment with the fastest lap as well. But then again, Verstappen and Sainz have pitted onto fresher hard tyres than what Lewis has. Although I think it wasn't too far behind Max's pit stop, Lewis's pit stop, I don't think.
No.
I can't remember exactly what lap he pitted on.
But yeah, while they're under the safety car, we will go through the running order. As I say, I have just finished the poll of who people think will win the Canadian Grand Prix. Max Verstappen, 56% of the vote, and obviously he's looking a bit. Looking decent at the moment. But as Conor said, he has got 6 older hard compound tyres compared to Sainz, who came in under this safety car period that we have at the moment. So I'll just go through the running order. So we've got Max Verstappen leading in the race under the safety car. Carlos Sainz is in second. We've got Lewis Hamilton third. George Russell fourth. Great so far for the Mercedes teams. We've got Ocon fifth, Alonso sixth, so 2 Alpines next to each other as well. We've got Leclerc in seventh, Bottas eighth. We've got Vettel ninth in the at the moment. He hasn't. He has pitted, yeah. Vettel's going to the end of the race, I think, as well. So on these hard compound tyres, I don't think he's looking to go for another pit stop. So keep an eye out for Sebastian Vettel. We've got Zhou Guanyu in 10th. Ricciardo is 11th. We've got Magnussen 12th. Stroll 13th. Gasly in 14th. We've got Alex Albon 15th. Norris still struggling at the back there in 16th. And Nicholas Latifi is 17th. Of course, we just had Yuki Tsunoda lock up and go into the wall. Which has, of course, brought the safety car out at this moment. And we had Mick Schumacher finish the race a little bit earlier. And, of course, Perez as well.
Just listening to the team radios there.
Anything interesting?
Not particularly, but a lot of them were old messages. That's the problem with these, like, bunch of team radios. There's like 6 of them in a row there, like old messages, like from when the safety car was first came out, and it was talking about, oh, Max, just stay on the Delta. It's like, okay, that's pretty obvious with the safety car, you got to stay on the Delta.
Oof,
that's really what it was, really. So
that safety car's dirty. That safety car sounds dirty. Tell you what, that is a nice sounding Aston Martin there. It might be super slow, but it sounds nice.
I think Hamilton's a bit frustrated with his pace compared to the other cars. His hard tyre, I think, same lap age as Max Verstappen. Yeah, just 1 lap younger. So there's an opportunity here for Lewis to try and push on.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, lap cars come through, don't they, before
I was going to say Magnussen.
The safety car comes in.
Yeah, I was going to say Magnussen is at the moment between Sainz and Hamilton, so there will be drivers here that I think Albon or Latifi's between there as well. So I think they obviously will get them lap cars through as we see Magnussen doing it. Yeah.
Getting ready to go. Lap cars through to Latifi from Magnussen. So that's Stroll and Albon as well. Norris goes past, just waiting for Latifi now. And then that will be the race order as we go through Sector 2 and get ready to go. I'm not too sure if the safety car is going to come in this lap. It might do, or it might be the lap after the lapped cars, I think.
Yeah, I was going to say, it depends on how quick they get round. I think it might be another lap.
Yeah, Sainz has to have a good restart. He's getting a second chance here to try and take Max. But obviously, with that chicane right at the end of the lap, that's a perfect opportunity for Max just to try and open up the gap a little bit and then push on to stay ahead in this race.
I think, interestingly, if Sainz doesn't warm up his tyres or Sainz doesn't get the get going, Lewis Hamilton is in a position here where he will want to pounce. Considering the year he's had so far, he's sitting already in a third place. If he feels like he can get a second place, because we know Mercedes is a better race car than it is over one lap, as we've got radio again with Hamilton.
One more lap with the safety car.
I think, yeah, as I say, Sainz has got to get going quickly here to try and make that move on Verstappen, because I think Hamilton is in that zone at the minute to try and get that move himself.
Alonso, Ocon on the fresher medium tyres, Bottas as well, but he's behind Leclerc at the moment.
I was going to say, Ocon technically in track position here, Conor, so Ocon has sort of jumped Alonso in this.
Yeah, safety car coming in at the end of this lap.
Oh, bit of a lock up there. Not sure who that was.
Yeah. It's Gasly. So here we go.
It'll be interesting how long Max waits, because he won't want to go too early with that being quite a long straight. So he will probably go as late as he possibly can. So we'll keep an eye out for that. I don't think Magnussen and everybody who's gone past is going to catch Ricciardo up here.
No. Running order: Verstappen, Sainz, Hamilton, Russell, Ocon, Alonso, Leclerc, Bottas, Vettel, Zhou, Ricciardo, Magnussen, Stroll, Gasly, Albon, Norris, and Latifi. And Verstappen's already backing up the order before they go round the hairpin in sector 3. So they're gonna. Carlos is getting ready. Of course, under the new restart rules, you can't have your second place car right next to the first place car. He has to stay behind Verstappen here.
Although Hamilton's very close to Sainz himself.
Yep, as they weave to keep their tyres warm.
I think Magnussen has caught up as well, sorry.
Yeah, we're going to get a rolling start for the restart with 16 laps to go in this race. For some of the drivers on their hard tyres, this is going to be a 16-lap sprint race getting ready to go, although Verstappen's doing a lot of weaving.
Yeah. Oh, I think he's gone.
Any
oh, no. I thought he'd gone then.
Green flag as they go through the chicane and they're off.
He's gone. Yeah, he's gone. So Max Verstappen has
Carlos
gone.
has had a good start, actually. Carlos is right next to him almost. He's had a great restart there, Carlos.
He has. Lewis Hamilton keeping pretty close as well as the two Alpines fighting for position there. Fernando Alonso wants that place back, and George Russell trying to keep ahead of the two of them. But yeah, the two Alpines fighting for position there. But as you say, the gap between Verstappen and Sainz still just under half a second. So Sainz trying to keep close to that. But the two Alpines are the closest drivers at the moment. Fernando Alonso wants that position back.
Sainz needs to keep this gap close to a second as possible. DRS isn't going to be activated at the moment because we have the safety car. He's going to have to wait a lap or so. 2 laps, DRS will not be enabled for. So he's got to wait until lap 57.
Yeah, we've obviously got Leclerc behind the two Alpines as well. So obviously, like I said, we've had that battling between Alonso and Ocon. If there's any instance between the two Alpine drivers, Leclerc might be able to pounce on this. So yeah, Ferrari will be keeping an eye out on the two Alpines here. Gap may just be getting to a second here on Carlos Sainz. Carlos needs to stay within that under a second gap from Max Verstappen. Lewis Hamilton is still pretty close between the lot as well, as we see Sebastian Vettel there. Yep, defending there against Zhou Guanyu.
Verstappen's already opened up the gap. I think it's going to be too much by the time 57 starts. Could be over a second.
Yeah, he's like
Lewis.
six tenths, yeah.
Yeah. Lewis and George aren't getting anywhere close Sainz either.
Yeah, Hamilton's just gone over a second to Carlos Sainz then, so he was close. He did keep it to a lap and a bit to Carlos Sainz, but I think he's just gone over that second margin as well, so he won't have DRS when that comes round. Russell, I think he's 1.2 seconds himself, so yeah, I mean, obviously Mercedes are going to be pretty happy if they do manage to get third and fourth, but yeah, I think there was a potential there for possible second place, depending on what happened with Carlos Sainz, but Leclerc closing in on Alonso here as well.
Yeah, the gap over a second now between Verstappen and Sainz. And now Leclerc looking to close up on Alonso. Both on the medium tyres, but Leclerc's are a little bit older than Alonso's.
Doesn't have DRS, as we say. DRS is this lap.
Yeah, this lap. It's activated now, so they'll get it going through Sector 2. In that little DRS zone. No, I think that's still a DRS zone. But they'll definitely have it at the end of Sector 3.
So Sainz is back within that second at the moment as Zhou Guanyu overtakes Vettel. Albon looks like he's took a position on Gasly. Oh, Stroll himself's moved up as well. But yeah, Conor, crucially, if he manages to keep this going, Sainz is still under a second here, and it's slowly closing a little bit.
Yeah, those younger hard tyres could come into play for Sainz in just a matter of moments. And Zhou gets the better there of Vettel and just manages to get the corner.
Yeah. Just managed to get that apex there. But, very close, actually. Carlos Sainz here.
So here we go. Is Max going to have to do some defending here? Not this lap, but maybe going in towards the chicane.
Just hopefully Sainz keeps a cool head here, because obviously this is his possible first race win, but needs to make sure that he doesn't bin it in the wall trying to attack Max Verstappen here. So yeah, just trying to keep it as calm as possible. There's a lot of driver changes at the bottom of the screen there. Not sure what's happening, but yeah, Sainz is in a perfect position at the moment if he can keep this going, putting that pressure under Max Verstappen.
Yeah, and you have to think, are we going to get some DRS battles like we did earlier this year between Max Verstappen and Carlos Sainz, and Charles Leclerc? Think back to Bahrain when we had the battles there in the DRS zones. We had, of course, the same situation in Saudi Arabia, except Max Verstappen came up a bit wiser then and started braking before the DRS lines in order to get the DRS activation for the zone. So are we going to get that kind of spectacle in the closing 10 plus laps of this race? Carlos Sainz though has to take over Max Verstappen first, and the gap's opened up a little bit. I think it was 3 seconds at the start of the race, at the start of the lap. It's going to close it up again, but he's not going to close it up enough to get the overtake done as they go through and onto the start-finish straight. And
interesting, Conor, while that was taking place, Leclerc has overtook Fernando Alonso, so hopefully we'll get a replay of what's happened there. But yeah, Leclerc is back in an Alpine sandwich, as it were. Cobus Matthews has put in the chat, why was a safety car out? It was down to Yuki Tsunoda coming out of the pits and locking up, going into the barriers at the first, the first couple of corners into that chicane. So yeah, that's why the safety car came out, and the reason why we have that incident, as we see Leclerc going down the inside there into that long turn there, going onto that main straight, and that is the maneuver on Fernando Alonso. As you see, the Ferrari fans in the grandstand pretty happy with that.
Yeah, again, that move done into the hairpin. 0.5 seconds between Verstappen and Sainz. So another opportunity coming up for the Spaniard to try and take over the Dutchman as they go past that hairpin where we just moments ago saw
he looks close
Leclerc get the job done on Alonso. And he does look closer. You're right, Jack. He does look closer. He'll get DRS here, but will he be quick enough to take Max going into the chicane? He's closing up the gap, but he looks too far behind in order to get the job done. He's moving to the right to try and block Verstappen's wing mirrors, but he's not going to get the job done going into the chicane. Will he get the job done going in towards turn 1?
Oh, Leclerc's had to go into a wide on that final corner as well. Had to go through the barriers, so yeah, he had to go wide on that corner there. So he didn't make that maneuver. Ocon manages to keep that position. But yeah, as you say, the gap is slowly closing on here. Magnussen looks like he's had an issue as well, because he's dropped all the way down to 17th, unless he's pitted and I didn't see.
Yeah, I'm not too sure, but yeah, we're going to replay of Leclerc. Ocon was shown in the outside there. He couldn't make the corner, so you had to go to the escape road and give the position back to the Alpine driver. So you'll have another attempt later on in the race. But that might just be his goal and ambition of trying to get into the top three over there with that mistake there. He might not have enough time now. But here we go. Attempt number 3 or 4 for Sainz on Verstappen as the gap has opened up slightly. But he's got an opportunity here to try and close it up with the DRS. Give him an advantage as they go down that long straight towards the chicane. He's not as close that time as they go through that chicane corner.
Yeah.
But the pressure has been applied by Carlos Sainz on Max Verstappen.
And crucially, Leclerc's got past Esteban Ocon this time around as well. So Leclerc himself is up to 5th place. So, yeah. The thing I'm looking in terms of this battle between Sainz and Verstappen is that as we get to that final corner before that main straight, it looks like the Red Bull's got a lot better traction as we get to that point. As we see on this corner here, as we see Leclerc and Esteban Ocon going for it, it seems to be that point there that Red Bull and Verstappen are able to put the power down a lot quicker, and it seems to be a lot grippier on them tyres. So it just seems to be that Max is able to push that little gap a little bit further. So even though Sainz has that DRS benefit, it looks like Verstappen and Red Bull are able to keep that point under control. So we'll just see if that happens again in terms of this lap. He's about 6 tenths behind is Carlos Sainz at the moment, but it's this point here crucially as they get around this final this turn here before the DRS detection. It just looks like that Red Bull's able to plant and go.
Yeah, here he goes. Another attempt at the Red Bull as the prancing horse of the Ferrari goes down that long straight. You can see the porpoise in there from the Red Bull. So there goes the argument from Christian Horner. Oh, we don't have any porpoising problems. Clearly you do. And now Ferrari, Carlos Sainz looks to try and get closer to him, but he's still not getting close enough to get the move. Even side by side, Jack, he's not even getting side by side by like a car length or anything like that, like half a car length, you know.
Yeah.
Still very much a big distance between the two. Maybe he's saving it all up for, you know, a last lap lunge or something like that. Maybe. But I think we have to. Do you think Leclerc can close up the gap to Russell on the medium tyres in that Ferrari, given that, you know, the gap's already opened up between Sainz and Hamilton? You know, could that same gap be closed up by Leclerc and the Ferrari on the medium tyres?
Yeah, I think absolutely. I think Russell will be certainly looking more behind than in front of Lewis Hamilton now. I think you know, Russell will be trying to make sure that he keeps that position and that Mercedes do finish this weekend with a 3rd and 4th. But yeah, as you say, it just looks like Leclerc is able to, you know, look a little bit quicker on that medium compound tyre than George Russell at the minute on that hard. So yeah, you know, definitely keep an eye on that.
No DRS for Sainz on that straight, so that could be it. That could be it for his hopes of trying to get a race win. He does get DRS on this straight, but the gap's opening up a little bit now between the two, 1st and 2nd. That could be it for Sainz, unfortunately. But a good drive from Max ultimately. Looked a bit frustrating at one point with the virtual safety cars, but he's managed to hold firm in the end. But he's still got another 7 laps to keep Carlos at bay, who does have DRS now in this sector 2 DRS zone. And now he's looking to try and close the gap up once more for the sector 3 DRS before just going around this hairpin as he brakes, just manages to get the car turned near to the apex, and now down that back straight. He's got DRS this time, so he's done a good job of closing up the gap to Verstappen. But at the moment, he's not going to have enough straight to get an overtake done as they go through the chicane.
Yeah, Sainz bouncing himself there in terms of porpoising as well, so...
And he gets the fastest lap as a result of that good push lap to try and get back into the striking distance of Max Verstappen. 1:15.7, quickest lap on the day so far, as Stroll goes into the top 10 to get some points for Aston Martin, overtaking Daniel Ricciardo.
And I know we've only got a few laps to go, but I have got a time I've got time warning on the Zoom again, so I don't know whether we want to get it done now before the end of the race to not risk it, and then of course we can talk about it afterwards, so we're not missing it. So if I just end the meeting now, and then I will start the whole process. I've just sent you the link, so we'll quickly try and sort that.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay. Let's see if I can sort this. I don't know why it's deciding to do this today, guys. It's really annoying, so yeah, apologies for that. But yeah, hopefully we're back on it. I'm just watching the screen now to see if anything's changing, but Carlos Sainz again is still behind Max Verstappen. So I have also put drive of the day on as well, so yeah, please let us know who you think is drive of the day. I've put Max Verstappen down, Carlos Sainz, Lewis Hamilton, and anybody else. If you do think it's anybody else in the race today, of course, do let me know in the comment section below. But we are currently on lap 65 out of 70, so 5 laps to go. So yeah, just best to sort of get this Zoom meeting rescheduled, so we've got the last 5 laps to go. And of course to discuss the end of the race as well. But yeah, still within a second is Carlos Sainz, has dropped Lewis Hamilton. Lewis Hamilton is about 3 seconds behind this group now, but is very much still on for a podium position, which of course Mercedes will take. And George Russell is about 2 and a bit seconds ahead of Leclerc as well. So at the minute it's third and fourth for Mercedes.
Sainz has got to get the job done. He's still in that striking distance, surprisingly. The Red Bull hasn't blown away.
Yeah, it's surprising though that as we say, Max Verstappen hasn't gone off into the distance, and Sainz is still managing to keep that gap within the DRS zones as well. Like I say, the problem is that he's just not close enough as we get to that DRS zone in the final sector for Carlos Sainz to be able to make a manoeuvre, or to at least look like he's trying to make a manoeuvre to put Max under a bit of pressure. It just looks like that the Red Bull is a lot more planted as we get into that main straight there where the DRS zone is.
Here we go, on board with Alonso. Oh, here we go. Team orders, stay where we are, don't challenge. No, he's not happy, Alonso. He's not happy. He wants to challenge Ocon. Full position. He's not happy. And to be fair to him, if you cut out the fight in second, you want to be able to finish ahead of your teammate at the very least. So you can understand his frustration.
Well, as they're saying on commentary, Bottas is within a second of Alonso and Joe himself as well. So it is very much a tight group in the sense that they can't just make them two fight each other, because if they do, both Alphas will look possible to pounce on that position. So that's the issue that Alpine have got is, team orders, as much as Alonso won't like it, they don't want to risk losing the points to the Alphas.
As we continue on. 3 laps to go between Verstappen and Sainz.
It's only just in that second now. But I tell you what, it's a great ending to the race. The fact that we are within a second for the possibility for the win. We have seen last lap incidents here. Look at Canada 2011, one of the best races of all time. Jenson Button able to take that position on Sebastian Vettel in that wet weather conditions, and obviously, the way it changed over. So it is possible on the final lap to have a change on the, of the race winner here at Canada. So, it is possible for Carlos Sainz. DRS again gets to within half a second, but just once again, not close enough for to be able to make any sort of move on that Red Bull.
Oh, come on, Sainz. I want him to get his first race win here. I mean,
it would be good.
Max has already run away with the championship at the moment. And we already talked about how this is such a crucial race for Sainz and his World Championship hopes. And if he was to finish ahead of Max, it would reignite his ambition to win the championship this year and put him right back into contention, I think, given the fact that Leclerc's all the way down the order and Perez has unfortunately been eliminated today due to component failures in his car. So this is a big opportunity for Sainz. They might not have a better opportunity to win a race this season. And he's only got one car in his way, and he's closing up the gap every single lap. He's just got to get the move done on the DRS zones.
It's just that traction zone there. Even watching it on board with Sainz, it just looks like Verstappen's just able to put his foot down and it just goes. And Ferrari are struggling. Although
here he goes, he's closing up there.
Yeah, not enough. He needs a mistake, I think, from Max Verstappen. He needs a mistake from that Red Bull driver to just help him that little bit more. But it just looks like Max is in control at the moment.
And when was the last time we saw Max Verstappen make a mistake? You know, I don't think he makes many mistakes anymore. He's just an excellent driver and really representing that world champion status right now, keeping Carlos Sainz behind him.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think myself in when that happened.
I think it would be Monza last year when he went over the curbs and into Lewis.
Yeah,
I think that was it really in terms of mistakes from Verstappen. So I can't think of any others than that. You know, you could argue the situation in Bahrain at the beginning of the season where he kept on letting Leclerc get past him in the DRS zones, but he quickly wised up to that, and that wasn't really a race-ending mistake or anything like that. But yeah, he doesn't make many mistakes for Verstappen, and that's why he is world champion. You know, so.
Is that a bit? Oh no, it's a bit litter on the track. Oh, it's a bit of debris sitting there.
2 laps to go for Sainz to try and overtake Verstappen. He could get it here. He's very close to him here with the DRS, under half a second. He's in touch in distance. It's going to be now or never for Carlos Sainz. Got a lot of graining on that front right.
Yeah. He's lost it a little bit there. A little bit of oversteer on the rear for Carlos Sainz. Has lost a couple of tenths of a second there in that first sector. This is the final lap of the race, actually, so that Sainz has to get it done. He has to be close enough in the second sector to get that DRS, to get that, able to make that manoeuvre before the final chicane going into the Wall of Champions, and it just looks like he's fell away a little bit in this second sector. So I don't know whether he will even be close enough. He should get DRS, but I don't think he'll be able to get that manoeuvre done. So unless there's a mistake here from Max Verstappen, it looks like he should take this race win.
Here we go. Last chance. Oh, there's a lock up there, I think, from Sainz. I think he locked up. I just saw a bit of smoke.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just saw that in the corner of my screen, a little bit of smoke from Sainz, and that's it. Yeah. Unfortunate for Carlos Sainz, but Max Verstappen's going to come through and win the race. As long as he gets past the Wall of Champions, and he does, because he is a champion.
Yeah, and there you go. Max Verstappen crosses the line, and he does win the Canadian Grand Prix. And Carlos Sainz comes seconds, but here we are with Lewis Hamilton coming home third place. Great result from Mercedes and Lewis Hamilton. As we're seeing the Alpines and Alfa Romeos battling here. Fernando Alonso trying to keep that position from Valtteri Bottas. It looks like he should be able to do so. As we come into the final chicane, both of them go through the Wall of Champions there, but I think Fernando Alonso with DRS should be able to get... Ooh, Bottas is really close there, but Alonso does manage to keep that position. So Bottas finishes ahead of Zhou, Ocon finishes ahead of Alonso, Leclerc finishes in 5th. Great recovery in the end for the second Ferrari driver there. Leclerc. Russell finishes in 4th. Stroll finishes in the final points in his home Grand Prix as well, so great result from Lance Stroll there.
Yeah, good result from Stroll, getting that point. Big win, though, for Max Verstappen in the championship fight. He's got an extra 25 points today, puts him on 175. Sergio Perez in second place, 129. So he's got almost a 50-point gap between him and Sergio Perez in second in the championship. This could be one of those races, Jack, that we look back on at the end of the season and say this was a deciding factor towards the championship win. Because it looks as though Max is on course now towards that second championship after what has been an absolutely brilliant 6-week period, shall we say, for him. You know, 5 wins in the last 6 weeks. You know, only a situation in Monaco really letting him down.
Yeah.
Other than that, he's been at the top on the podium, first place.
Yeah. And I think fortunately for him, all the reliability unluckiness is falling on to Sergio Perez and not him. So at the minute he's getting away with it. But yeah, like I said, great result from him. And like you said, you know, Lewis Hamilton's not there this year. It is the 2 Ferrari drivers that haven't won world championships. He has now, so he has that experience. He has that know-how. I think he's gained a lot from what he had that with that battle against Hamilton last year. So, you know, I think he's in his own little world at the minute. Is Max Verstappen? If he manages to get that pole position and he's able to get away from the field, even today wasn't able to get away from Sainz, but still great experience to keep him behind. So yeah, great job as we're seeing and hearing the team radio for Lewis Hamilton here, and from what he's also had over the last few weeks or so, with how bad that Mercedes car has been, for the fact that they've now finished 3rd and 4th, I think they'd be really happy with that.
Just to re-emphasize, you know, just a couple of minutes ago, we were talking about where does Max Verstappen make any mistakes, and the answer is he doesn't. And today is a clear demonstration of that, you know.
Yeah.
Even with Sainz right behind him, you know, he didn't let off the pace, he didn't let off in any sectors whatsoever. He kept that gap enough so that he could still be in first position once the checkered flag was flown at the finish line, and he's got himself another race win as a result, and he's well on his way towards, I think in my eyes now, potentially retaining that championship, because, you know, Sergio Perez dropped points today. Charles Leclerc, of course, had the penalty with the new components going into his car, but you know, he managed to have a good recovery drive, but it wasn't really enough to take a bite out of Max Verstappen's title challenge. He only finished 5th in the end, Charles Leclerc. So Max still managed to get 15 points on him, despite the fact that Charles had a brand new engine in his car. And of course, Sergio Perez crashing out, well, not crashing out, his components failing in his car. And Carlos only managing to get into 2nd, but he did crucially get fastest lap, so that's a point at least taken away.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it's very much becoming Max's championship to lose now, given his performance over the last 6 weeks. 6 weeks of racing, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think disappointing for me is, and obviously, you know, Gunter looked really happy this morning. Won't be very happy with what's happened in the race. Of course, Mick Schumacher, no fault of anybody's, but in terms of Kevin Magnussen as well, with that damaged front wing, then had to come into the pits early. Just, yeah, not been their day today in terms of race. Kevin Magnussen finishes last in all of the actual runners in the end, and as I said, Mick Schumacher didn't finish the race after retired after 19 laps. So disappointing for the Haas, even, you know, from both drivers being in Q3 from yesterday. A little bit disappointing. As we say, both McLaren drivers aren't in the points either. Lance Stroll's the one that finishes with the final points position, so a decent job in the end for Lance Stroll, and you know, being his home Grand Prix, good to get that final point considering how tough it looked for them in qualifying yesterday for Aston Martin. Great result from Alfa Romeo, and of course Alpine in the end, but Esteban Ocon did finish ahead of Fernando Alonso.
Good result ultimately for Alpine, getting both cars high into the points, ultimately the best of the rest, both of the cars. So you could say it was a good decision in the end to not let Alonso pass Ocon. And a good result for Alfa Romeo as well, getting 2 cars into the points as well, in their own little constructors battle, pushing away from, you know, the likes of AlphaTauri and Haas as well in those areas of the points. So
is that 49? Sorry, is that 49 points between Leclerc and Verstappen now?
Let's have a look. 49 points between Leclerc and Verstappen.
I know obviously Perez is in between there, but I think it is obviously between both Perez.
Yeah, it is 49 points between them, which is huge.
Almost 2 race wins, isn't it?
Yeah. That's what I mean. It's like it feels as though this is Max's championship to lose now. It's like he's had such a good performance over the last 6 races to, after the component failures in Bahrain and Australia, he's really turned it around and managed to get the best out of the car. And bar in Monaco, he's finished at the top step. So
yeah,
he's really demonstrated his world championship class over the past couple of weeks. It's just really unfortunate for Sainz because he's had a great race, good recovery after not making into the front row in qualifying, and almost came close to it near the end.
Yeah, I was just going to say, obviously we mentioned that this is quite an important race for Carlos Sainz. I mean, as much as it's a decent result, and obviously you got jumping up a place in the end from the race, do you think he'll go away from this a bit disappointed with the fact that, like you said, Perez and Leclerc were starting, so it was only Max Verstappen. I know I say it was only Max Verstappen, but it was only like one driver out of them top 4 there with the top 2 teams. Do you think he will feel a little bit disappointed with not ahead, or?
Yeah, I think he will, because it was a great opportunity for him to try and get the race win today, and he's not managed to do that, and he's still behind, Charles and George and Sergio Perez, as you said, because of the fact that well, I don't think even with the race win today, I don't think he would have been able to get ahead of some of those drivers I mentioned. But I think it's too far ahead. Max is too far ahead of Sainz now to really have him to say he's in the hunt for the championship, unfortunately. But it's a race that Carlos can be proud of for certain, and the hope is now that he'll be able to build upon that. After a bit of a poor start to the season with the mistakes in Imola, and I can't remember what happened in Australia for him, but I know he retired. But building on the unfortunate situation at the beginning of the season, this is a good race result for him, and hopefully now he can build upon that and bring some results in for Ferrari in their constructors battle, because in the constructors, Ferrari got both cars home today, so it's a good result for them.
Yeah.
Whereas Red Bull only got one, so they managed to close up the gap a little bit there. So if they can get a couple of race wins later on in the season, it'll open the door wide open for Ferrari and the constructors. And as we know in Formula One, all the money's in the constructors. So if Ferrari's able to get the job done, then it'll do great for them. But today's Max's day, a good race win for him, and it really demonstrated why he's the world champion, because he had a great performance with no mistakes really. So
yeah. And in terms of Mercedes, I mean, I know obviously there's been a lot of talk about obviously the porpoising and regulation, FIA looking into things and such and that. But the Mercedes seem to be, as much as they're having a bad season, they always seem to be in the right place to pick up the points, and they're very consistent. There's not much reliability issues that are going on. I know they're having issues with the actual the way that they're getting the downforce at the moment with that porpoising effect. But as I say, they're still in that position to get the points. And yeah, I mean, they were saying, Lewis Hamilton was saying how undrivable the car was on Friday, and here they are in 3rd place and George Russell finishing 4th.
You could say as well, though, where do they finish without Perez crashing and without... I keep saying Perez crash. He didn't crash. His car failed.
If Leclerc didn't have the issues as well, and yeah, components really is like where would the Mercedes be without these component problems for Perez and for Leclerc? I think that's a story that a very much a what if situation, but I think we've already seen the results of that what if earlier in the season, when we saw Ferrari and Red Bull just simply finishing in the top 4 and consistently and demonstrating the clear gap really between those two teams and what Mercedes offer. The porpoising issue is still there, but at the same time, a lot of the Mercedes powered cars aren't exactly doing well
this season. McLaren's up there, but that's arguably only because of podiums for Lando. But other than that, every single Ferrari team and every single Red Bull power team's ahead of Aston Martin and Williams. So
the only thing I would
it's a
say
difficult one to assess, really.
The only thing I would say, obviously, we talked about Red Bull reliability at the beginning of the season, having that issue, double DNF in Bahrain, but Ferrari reliability seems to be the one that's the worst at the moment in terms of what we saw at Baku. Majority of the DNFs were Ferrari-powered cars. Obviously, they might not all be affected to components that Ferrari gives to the teams, but it still looked like maybe Ferrari were the ones with the actual reliability woes. Maybe Mercedes are the ones with the actual outright pace issues. So all the teams that have Mercedes engines maybe don't have the outright pace that the others do, but Ferrari seem to be the ones that have maybe the reliability problems at the moment, and that's maybe what it's looking like.
It's a difficult one to assess because obviously Mercedes have the history. It's clear that they have had the history, but at the same time, I just don't think you can just count out Sergio Perez and Charles Leclerc at all, given how well they have performed this season. So sometimes in Formula One you do need the luck to be on your side, and today certainly for Mercedes, for Lewis Hamilton, and for George Russell, finishing third and fourth is a good result for them. And I don't think we'll see Mercedes getting themselves back into the constructors' fight. I think they're too far behind.
I was just going to say, do you think they're actually going to get to, they're going to get to being a better car during the season, or
we need to see one of George or Lewis start finishing second, or we need to see them really pushing on in qualifying. We've had the weekend where this weekend where Lewis has managed to qualify in fourth, but we need to start seeing them in the top two. We need to start seeing them either in first or second, and I think we're still, compared to the Ferrari and the Red Bull, I think we're still quite a way off that for Mercedes, unfortunately.
Well, I mean, Lewis Hamilton said in an interview the other day that this is basically the car. I mean, they might make some minor tweaks, but this is basically what they've got for the season. So, I mean, obviously, teams do downplay the fact that they will have upgrades because they don't want to say, we've got a huge upgrade to come in that's going to fix everything, all the issues that we have. Obviously, they don't want to say that. But, he was really downplaying the fact that, this is literally it. So we are going to have to get lucky. We are going to have teams in front start at the back of the grid or retire out of the race for us to get some points. So, a little bit worrying if you're a Mercedes fan or you're a Lewis or George Russell fan with what they're saying, but sometimes they can underplay it because actually they might get opportunities like this that come their way, and they're still sitting pretty decent where they are in the constructors at the moment, and as we say, they are picking up consistent points as we go along through the season. But I mean, a race for Lewis Hamilton that he'll really want to do well in is in 2 weeks' time at Silverstone, and I just don't think that Mercedes are going to be at that point where they're going to be competitive enough for Hamilton to win the British Grand Prix, and George Russell being his first time really where he would have thought maybe he could win his home Grand Prix as well. I just don't think they're going to get there coming into this season, unfortunately, and as we say, that is the next race coming up in 2 weeks' time is the British Grand Prix. I don't know if is it a triple header or a double header after that. I think it's the British Grand Prix and then it's Austria.
Yeah, it's just a double header, Austria and then British, and then it's a week off, and then the French Grand Prix. Yeah, I think the British Grand Prix will definitely be a strong indication as to can Mercedes get back into this constructors fight. If we see one of the Mercedes on the podium without, obviously they could get back into it if there was a retirement from one of the Ferraris or Red Bulls, but realistically, we want to see it happen without the retirements. If Mercedes can get onto the podium, either in second or third, or even a race win themselves, if they can do that without any retirements from the Ferrari or Red Bull, then they're back into the constructors' fight. But if they can't, then that's it. Unfortunately, I think they would be better off trying to work the car into a better condition for 2023.
Yeah, but I have to say, Lewis Hamilton does look pretty happy to be on a third. I haven't seen him happy to be third in a long time, so I suppose that's literally just where they are in terms of this season. But as we see them on the podium and we see the trophies, being handed out, before we finish the stream now, your thoughts in terms of the weekend, and obviously, as we say, coming into the British Grand Prix in a couple of weeks' time, where do you think everybody's at the moment?
Yeah, just echo what I said earlier. Max Verstappen demonstrated over the past 6 races, why he's world champion. Another win to his belt. Carlos Sainz, good drive by him today. Just really unfortunate that to not get into the race win position. Potential might be the last opportunity for him to really insert himself into the world championship fight. Charles Leclerc had a good recovery drive, but the pit stop let him down a little bit, and he couldn't really recover any further than that. And I think that goes into play as to what the Ferrari car is. Unfortunately, it might not be able to withstand a long championship battle, I think, for Leclerc. But we'll wait and see. Just unfortunate for Sergio Perez as well with the component failures, but then that's a bit scary for Red Bull. So maybe the door is still open for Ferrari. Ultimately, I think the British Grand Prix is going to be an exciting race to watch as a result. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, as they're showing promotion for it on the screens at the moment. But yeah, I mean, like I said, that I think it's been a good race weekend. Obviously, always enjoy a wet qualifying session as well, because that can mix up the order. And seeing Fernando Alonso up there, unfortunately for him, couldn't maintain that spot. Did finish in 7th place in the end behind his teammate Esteban Ocon. But yeah, it was great to see that mixed up grid yesterday. But yeah, I think overall decent race. I think obviously once again the safety car sort of helped in terms of having a sort of last lap shootout between Carlos Sainz and Max Verstappen. But of course Max Verstappen did come out on top and did win the Canadian Grand Prix, and as Conor said, just looks dominant over the last few months and the last few races or so, and definitely is his championship to lose at the moment. And yeah, I mean obviously we'll be seeing what happens in terms of outright performance at Silverstone, which is in a couple of weeks' time. So yeah, thank you everybody for watching the stream today, and of course putting some votes in the chat, and of course joining us today. And if you haven't subscribed already, please do so. Like I said, it was today we hit our 10,000 subscribers, which is an amazing result. So thank you to everybody that has subscribed already, and communicating during all the watch-alongs that we do. And of course, if you haven't subscribed, please do so as well. We have a lot of sport going on. I think Jamie is currently doing the golf at the moment, so if you want to join that, please do so now. This stream is finishing. But yeah, thank you, Conor, for joining me today on the watch-along. I know we had some issues with Zoom today, being a very annoyance. I'm not sure why it's decided to do that today, but yeah, thank you for being a part of it. And like I said, we will be doing a race watch-along in a couple of weeks' time for the British Grand Prix. So thank you everybody for watching, and we will see you all in the next one. So take care. See you soon.